Okay, in this video, I will be going over Spiral Review 25. It's really best if you have completed this on your own, and this video then is intended for you to check your work and clear up any misunderstandings you may have. So we'll go ahead and get started with number one. And number one usually has you practicing the same skill. This isn't a 3-digit plus 3-digit addition problem. So I'm going to use the algorithm to solve, and I'm going to write my numbers above one another, putting ones in the ones place, tens in the tens place, and hundreds in the hundreds place. When I add 375 plus 375, I start with the ones, and I will get 10 ones, which is really a 10. Then I add my tens, 7 tens plus 7 tens plus 1 10 is 15 tens, which is 5 tens and 100. So I have to regroup. And then last but not least, I have 300s plus 300s plus 100, which is 700s. Now, another way you could look at this if you wanted to do it mentally is 375 is really close to 400. So you could add 400 and 400, which is 800, and then back off the 25 from each 400 to get you back to 75. So 400 minus, or 800 minus 50 would be 750. All right, the next one is 700 minus 2. And I'm going to look at this and I'm going to use my number sense and I'm going to say, geez, if I only have to take 2 off of 700, I'm just going to count backwards. I'm not going to do the algorithm and regroup across zeros. So I'm going to start at 700. I'll count back 1, be 699. Count back a second one, it'd be 698. And my answer is 698. Hopefully some of you noticed that. All right, my next question is a word problem, and this one usually has us rounding or estimating. The problem says, Mrs. Miller drives to Virginia. On Saturday, she drives 438 miles. And on Sunday, she drives 379 miles. Estimate how many miles she drives on Saturday and Sunday. So the key word here is estimate. Notice it's underlined and it's in italics. When we estimate, we're not getting an actual answer. So that means we can round our numbers and really do mental math. So I can look at 438 and I can round 438 to 400. And then I can round 379 would also round to 400. And if I want to know how much she drove altogether, I could add 400 plus 400 and I would get 800 miles. Now I need my TS, and this is really important. Estimate how many miles she drives on Saturday and Sunday. So I'm going to get my typing feature here, and I'm going to answer she drives, big word here, about 800 miles. If you don't have the word about in there, you did not estimate. It makes it seem like your answer is the actual answer. I also want to point out, boys and girls, that you could get a closer answer if instead of rounding each number to the nearest 100, you rounded each number to the nearest 10. If I did that, 438 would round to 440. So then I would be adding 440. And 379 rounded to the nearest 10 would be 380. And then I could add those two numbers. Now those are a little bit more difficult to add mentally, so you might have to still use your algorithm to add those, which we can do up here in this space here. So 440 plus, 380, and we would get, we add our ones, that's easy, that's 0. Add our tens, we get 12. We have to regroup 10, and then we have 800s. So if we rounded nearest 10, we would get 820. And so our answer would change to, instead of she drives about 800 miles, we might say she drives about 820 miles. Okay, I would accept both answers. 820 is going to be closer to the actual. All right, let's go on to our next question, and this is a telling time one, and we use a number line to tell time. It says Becky is making a cake. She puts it in the oven at 653. Okay, it bakes for 40 minutes. Then she lets it cool for 8 minutes. Okay, so 40 minutes of baking and 8 minutes of cooling. What time is it when Becky's cake is done cooling? Model with a number line on the back. Hint, your number line will go beyond an hour. All right, so I'm going to erase this up here, and I'm going to put my number line up here at the top of the page. So I'm going to draw a nice long number line here. And then I'm going to put my end arrows at either end. And I know I start at 6:53. So I'll start my number line right here at 6:53. And I can do a couple things here. I can start by just counting on the 40 minutes. I can count on, I can say, well, the 40 minutes of baking plus 8 minutes of cooling would be 48 minutes in total. So however way you want to look at it, I'm going to just start by adding 40 minutes. So my first jump, because it's hard for me to add 40 to 6:53 to that time. So I want to get to 7 o'clock. So in order to get to 7 o'clock, which is a nice friendly number, I'm going to do my jump, and I'm going to indicate where I am now on my number line by writing 7 o'clock underneath there. And how much did I jump? I jumped 7 minutes. Okay. And now I have to jump 40 more. So, or I have to jump 40 altogether. So if I take 40 and say, well, I've already jumped 7, the rest of my jump would be 33. So 7 plus 33 would give me 40. And like I said, there's a lot of ways that you can add on a number line. So you have to do what makes the most sense for you. To me, 7 and 33 makes 40. So then I will have jumped number of minutes I need for the baking. So if I'm at 7 o'clock and I jump 33 minutes, I will be at 7:33. Okay, but I'm not done yet. Now the cake has to cool for 8 minutes. So I have one more jump. I'm going to do this all at once. And I'm going to indicate above how many minutes I jumped. Okay, and 7:33 plus 8 will give me, you can just count on if you need to, but I can take 33 and add 8 and I will be at 41. So what time is it when Becky's cake is done cooling? The time will be 7:41. I'm going to use my text feature here. It's a little bit neater. All right. Okay, hopefully if you had a misunderstanding on there, we cleared it up for you. Okay, the next one says compare 3/6 to 3/3 using less than, greater than, and equal to. Draw a visual to support your answer. We could draw number lines, but we don't have much space, so I'm going to draw 2 fraction strips, and I'm going to make sure that they are the exact same size by putting them underneath each other. Okay, we want the same size holes. And my units are 1/6 and 1/3. So the first one I'm going to divide into 1/3 because that's the fewer number of parts. And my second one I will divide into 1/3 because I need 6 though. I will divide my 1/3 in half. Okay, now my first number line shows 1/3. My second number line shows 6. And now to indicate what fractions I'm comparing, I'm going to go ahead and shade. So I will shade 3/3 because that's what they want us to shade, 3/3. That would be 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. And now I have shaded 3/3 in my first fraction strip. And my next one I want to shade 3/6. So I will shade 1/6, 2/6, 3/6. And now by comparing the shaded areas of each fraction strip, I can easily compare them. And it looks to me like certainly 3/3 is much larger than 3/6. So I'm going to write my comparison down here, and I will write 3/3 is greater than 3/6. Okay. All right. So hopefully those visuals helped you compare. I would never ask you to compare fractions really without pictures. Really important to draw them when you're doing fractions. Okay, Ella is doing a science experiment. She has 81 milliliters of water and wants to pour it equally into 9 beakers. So she's got a container with 81 milliliters water and she wants to pour it equally into 9 beakers. A beaker is just a tall glass cylinder. How much water will she pour into each beaker? Well, I do need a picture. So I'm going to draw a tape diagram, and I'm going to split that tape diagram into 9 parts to indicate my 9 beakers. Okay, so that means I'll have to draw 8 lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And these don't represent fractions, so they don't have to be exact, and they're close enough for these purposes. So my 9 units represent the 9 beakers, and I know I have a total of 81 milliliters of water. So I can do fair share, and I can divide that 81 up with tally marks into each one of those beakers, but I could also write a number sentence. And so what number sentence will I write? Well, I've got a total of 81 milliliters, so I'll start with that. And what am I doing with it? I am dividing it into, I'm going to dress up my number, dividing it into 9 beakers. So use a division sign, divided by 9. And then if you don't know that fact, what you can do is you can skip count by 9 until you get to 81. So let's do that. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 81. And it's hard for me to put that last finger up, but that will give me 9. So 9 times 9 is 81. If you knew the fact, you wouldn't have to do the skip counting. And now last, I'll write my target sentence. How much water will she pour into each beaker? She will pour 9 milliliters into each beaker. Whoops, I spelled that. All right, so there's your read, draw, write for that problem. Okay, now if you don't mind, I'm going to erase all my pictures and we'll go down to the last problem. Remember, these are usually 2-step problems. 2-step problems are one of the most difficult skills for 3rd graders. So we'll read the problem, underline our notes, draw a picture, write a number sentence, and write a target sentence. That's what read, draw, write means. All right. Lena picked 17 apples. Underline that. Her brother picked 19. So I see Lena with 17 and her brother with 19. Lena's mom has a pie recipe that requires 9 apples. How many pies can mom make with the apples that Lena and her brother picked? Remember to read, draw, write. So I've underlined my knowns, and I know Lena picks 17 apples, and I know her brother picks 19 apples. Well, before I read any further, what I'm wondering right now is how many apples do they have all together? And I hope you're wondering that as well. So this becomes a part whole, the apples Lena picked and the apples her brother picked. And you all know how we can represent that. Remember, read, draw, write does mean you should draw a picture to represent the problem, and this really makes you think about the concept the problem represents. So we have 17 apples, and I'm going to put L under here for Lena, and then my other part, I'll put the 19 apples that her brother picked, and I'll put B underneath there for brother. And what do I want to find out? I want to find the total number of apples they picked. So that becomes a part whole, and I'm using a number bond for that. And I can go ahead and write a number sentence. So how do I get the total? That's right. I would add 17 plus 19 equals. Now, I have no problem with you doing the algorithm on the side of your paper. Probably would be a good idea because 17 plus 19 might be hard for you to do mentally. But if you do the algorithm, remember, you still need your number sentence. Really important. This is part of your read, draw, write process. Okay, so 7 ones plus 9 ones is 16 ones, and I have to regroup. And if I add my 10s, I'll have 3 10s. So 17 plus 19 gives me 36. So I have 36 apples now, and I can go back up here and I can put 36 in my number bond to indicate the total. Okay, well now we know that Lena's mom has a pie recipe that requires 9 apples. And my unknown is how many pies can mom make with the apples that Lena and her brother picked. So I know the size of my group. In each pie will be 9 apples. So one thing I can do is I can use a count by. So I'm going to draw a circle, and that's going to represent a pie. And in it, I'm going to put my 9 for the 9 apples. All right. I don't know how many pies there are, but if I continue drawing circles with 9 apples in them, I can now skip count underneath, and I'll do that until I get to the total number of apples they picked, which was right here, 36. So let's draw another pie with 9 apples. And now we're at 27. And remember your trick with the 9s. Your 1's place goes down 1 each time, and your 10's place goes up 1. So here we have 9, 8, 7, and look at our 10's place. We have nothing here, then 1, then 2. So we can use that. If it's too hard for us to add 9 to 27, we can say, okay, my 1's place is going down, so after 7 will be 6, and my 10's place is going up, so after 2 will be 3. All right, now I have a great picture, and I can see how many pies Lena's mom baked. She baked 4 pies, but I do need a number sentence. So this is my first number sentence here. Really important that you have that, but now I need another number sentence for my second picture. And if you think about what your knowns are, one known is the 9 apples, and the other known that we figured out from step 1 was the 36 apples. So my number sentence would be 36, which is my total apples. And then it's division because I have the total and I'm looking for the number of groups. So 36 divided by 9, which is the size of the groups. And now my picture shows me that 36 divided by 9 is 4. So I hope that's clear to you, boys and girls. And now finally, to finish the redraw right, I do need a target sentence. So the question says, how many pies can mom make with the apples that Lena and her brother picked? We can write, mom can bake 4 pies. And there's your target sentence. All right, boys and girls, that's your last spiral review of the year, spiral review 25. I hope if you had any misunderstandings that we cleared those up as we went over it.